You're live with the guy, and we have a ton of culture and political stories today. I got some new mics, so let me know if the microphone volume's okay today or if I'm clipping. Okay, that being said, let's get right into this. And as some people may have seen on the cover, not the Chris Pratt, but the AB Bill 495. This is an absolutely crucial bill that's passed in California that people need to let Gavin Newsom know to knock this thing down and not sign this into law. This is going to put all children in California that go to public school or public daycare in extreme danger of PDF files. Let's get into this and we'll talk a little bit about this, but basically this will allow any stranger to come to any public school with a printed form offline and sign the kid out of school with having no relation to the child whatsoever. They've got this law through under the guise of countering ICE agents and countering ICE because Orange Man is bad. This is putting all children in California in serious danger.
You're popping a lot.
Oh, I'm popping a lot. Okay.
Don't move away from the mic, I guess. Hi, I'm Nat. Sorry, I did not introduce myself. But yes, here from our grasshopper says people in California need to educate themselves. On the surface, it safeguards for children, but look deeper into the bill shows it leaves doors wide open to be abused for a child. Disgusting things, make calls to your elected officials and say no. AB-495. And the key points of controversy are opponents contend that the bill lacks critical safeguards and opens the door for potential abuse, including child disgusting things. The main points of contention include expansion of caregivers. The bill expands who can be a caregiver beyond immediate relatives to include distant relatives and non-relatives without requiring clear proof that the parent entrusted the child to that individual.
Okay, and let's stop it there. This was a re-advised amendment at the last possible second because so many people were kind of standing up against this bill. So they took strangers out of the bill, but the original bill would have allowed a complete stranger to sign your kid out of school with no picture ID just by claiming that they had the parent's permission to the child.
You're still popping a lot.
Okay.
Erosion of parental consent. The updated caregiver affidavit could potentially allow someone to assume authority over a child and make decisions regarding their education and medical care without explicit parental consent. Critics worry the affidavit's existing unable to be contacted clause, which AB 495 would expand upon without adding safeguards, could be exploited.
Okay, let's go into the next little thing here.
And lack of safeguards. Unlike a formal guardianship, the use of a caregiver affidavit does not require a background check, court review, or parental notification in all cases. Opponents argue that without these protections, the bill is a human trafficker's dream. Scope beyond immigration. While framed around immigrant family separations, the bill would apply to all children in California, regardless of their parents' immigration status.
So right now, when you put your kid in a public school, basically you're allowed to say who is the caregiver, who is not the caregiver, and there's a specific list on that child's record who the child can be given over to, especially at a young age. This wants to broaden that scope so almost anybody can take your child out of school. And this was one of the final projects Charlie Kirk was actually taking action on. One of the final projects, one of the big actionable projects. He was asking for people to go to this, Sacramento and actually protest there. They were hoping to get 5,000 people so Gavin Newsom could see that this was not something he wanted to pass into law. Now that the bill has passed, I believe it has to go to Gavin Newsom's desk. This is one opportunity we really do have to change Gavin Newsom's mind because he's not just worried about California anymore. He's wanting to run for president. And bills like this, if they do pass and something bad happens to some child because some PDF file are targeting and going after California children, this is not going to work out well for Gavin Newsom. So people really need to voice their opinions. There is a number here. Why don't we read the headline here?
It's attention all Californians. Please call Gavin Newsom's office and leave a message demanding him to veto AB 495 as it arrives on his desk Monday morning for his decision. Call 916-455-2841. Take a listen to Charlie and this person.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this, even if you're not in the state of California, it may be a good idea to contact Gavin Newsom's office because he is looking forward to the presidency. So people from all states, even internationally, this will set a precedent that other states or other countries could possibly follow in these footsteps. This is endangering children on an unprecedented level. Okay, let's go into, this. I got an article about this legislation as well. It might say it a little bit more clearly.
From the California Family Council, California legislature approves bill threatening parental rights despite strong opposition. Last Friday, the California Senate and Assembly approved AB-495 along strict party lines, with Democrats in support and Republicans in opposition. The bill, authored by Assembly member Celeste Rodriguez, Democrat from Los Angeles, now sits on Governor Gavin Newsom's desk. He must decide by October 12th whether to sign it into law or issue a veto.
Okay, and this was one time that I actually seen the Republicans trying to reach across the aisle. They said this was going to put all children in danger, and they would offer money and support and legal teams in order to kind of fix this bill. So we could potentially hand children over to family members that had rightful access to those children, and we wouldn't be handing them over to strangers without proper photo identification.
So it says, California Family Council is deeply alarmed that AB 495 has advanced this far. Despite amendments made just days before the final vote, the bill still weakens parental rights and leaves children vulnerable to exploitation. We urge every concerned parent to contact Governor Newsom and respectfully request that he veto AB 495.
Yeah, and this is going to be huge because if Gavin Newsom passes this, I'm almost sure something bad is going to happen to some children, and this is not going to look good on his political campaign. So when we call the office, make sure we let him know why we don't want this and be polite when we do ask. Let's go back to the original post with his number just so people have it.
So it's 916-445-2841.
And that's a 1 if you're dialing from out of state or out of country before that number.
So 1-916-445-2841.
And Charlie Kirk, I had watched this interview. We're not going to watch it now, but I do highly recommend people go watch that. He said he was going to personally call Gavin Newsom and let him know what was in this bill and why this would put his political future presidential campaign in jeopardy. I don't know if he had time to do that before the tragedy happened. I really hope he did. If not, I do hope Gavin Newsom actually watches that video and people do call Gavin Newsom's office. As much as I don't like Newsom, we can pressure him because he has presidential hopes to knock this bill down. People in purple states are not going to like this bill, and this is not going to help his presidential campaign.
It says, do you want me to read the amendments that were made and why it's still not enough?
Yeah, and the amendments that were made, I will say, are good amendments, but these kids are still left in perilous jeopardy. So I am glad they made the amendments, but it's still very easy for people to lie and say they are a family member without proper identification.
It says amendments, window dressing, not protection. In response to overwhelming opposition from thousands of parents, the author amended AB 495 to remove two controversial provisions. One, language allowing unrelated adults with a mentoring relationship to sign the caregiver's authorization affidavit, and two, language explicitly stating that a parent's signature was not required. While these tweaks may appear to address concerns, they do little to fix the bill's fundamental flaws. AB 495 still expands the use of the caregiver's authorization affidavit, a decades-old legal form that permits non-parents to make medical and educational decisions for a child solely reserved for parents or legal guardians.
Well, and this is the thing. We already have something that's working to give children over to other family members. And why this bill is needed, this is a PDF file's wet dream. And I cringe at the fact if Gavin Newsom actually signs this into law.
It continues. The bill continues to allow individuals to claim kinship within the fifth degree without requiring notarization, verification, or parental consent. In practice, this means the stranger could falsely claim to be a relative and assume authority over a child's schooling or healthcare decisions. The affidavit states schools or medical facilities have no obligation to verify the affidavit signer is the person who they say they are.
Yeah, and the only kind of ID that is required is a social security number, and the social security number does not have a picture on it. So this is even more risky to even find the people that are going to potentially be taking these kids out of school. Also, if there are restraining orders on certain people, this puts children in a lot of danger where the schools aren't even notified to try to contact the parents once a stranger or a family member assigns that person out of school. Okay, I just wanted to make everybody aware of this. This is something that I hope people do take action on, and I really hope Newsom does not sign this into law, although I feel it would hurt his future campaign, and I'm all for things that would hurt his future campaign. This is going to put millions of children at risk, and it's not worth knocking Gavin Newsom's future campaign out in order to put kids at risk. So.
And once again, it goes to prove that with the whole hysteria of the immigration stuff and immigrants' rights, etc., once again, the Democrat Party is tripping over itself like they did when they decided that a child in the womb does constitute an actual child and it is a human being that deserves rights, which completely tackles and stumbles over their whole abortion position. And now they've opened the door for that to be contested as well.
Well, Orange Man bad, and they want to do everything they can on a surface level to show they're fighting ICE, even if it means putting kids in danger. Even the Republicans that are not necessarily in favor, they're a lot more in favor of ICE actually coming in, are willing to help and pass a bill. They realize the danger this bill actually does put kids in. And I just became aware of this issue last night, and I quickly gathered this information, hoping, and I hope if any other content creators are watching this, they do a little bit of research on Bill AB-495 and talk about it on their potential shows to get people to take action.
And it could, again, it was one of the last things Charlie Kirk was trying to fight against, and it would be another good way to honor his memory, to continue the fights that he had taken upon and that he was caring about. But speaking of Charlie Kirk, we do have some news about it, including the charges being laid on his assassin. But for now, something that's heartwarming and nice is the impact that Charlie has had upon really young kids as well. And here we see...
Well, I will say this isn't extremely young kids. These are probably middle schoolers or high schoolers, which I like to see. I don't like to see extremely young kids even necessarily talking about politics on our political show. We showed some extremely young kids that had been indoctrinated by their mother, who was celebrating the potential ending of not only Donald Trump's life, but Charlie Kirk's life as well. And it was a little bit ridiculous. They're too young to know about that subject matter unless they were indoctrinated by their parents or somebody else. In this case, these kids are old enough to do research and to kind of know what's going on and to start voicing their opinions. I'm really glad it's the students bringing this to the school board and not parents. This makes much more of an impact on the people that are not only at the school board but watch this video on social media.
Mm-hmm. So Mila Joy says, kids went to a school board meeting to protest the teacher who was speaking horribly about Charlie Kirk. Good for you, kids. And it says, POV, you went up to your school board to talk about a teacher who celebrated the passing or the death of an innocent man.
Okay.
Hopefully the sound works.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it.
I'm Jakari.
I'm Caleb.
And I'm Brandon. And as the people of the youth, we've decided to come up and give our perspective on the subject, considering it is our teacher and one of the people that will guide our futures. No matter what anyone says to me, I will never stand for violence, especially of a man who was publicly murdered in front of his wife, one of his children, thousands of students, and other bystanders. Charlie was not a racist, he did not hurt anyone sexually, and he did not kill anyone. Therefore, this was an unjustified cause of death that should never be celebrated. So if you ask me, Charlie's children do not deserve to grow up without their father. Charlie's wife did not deserve to lose her husband. Charlie did not deserve to lose his life because of a different opinion. But this teacher deserves to lose his job.
As civilians and people of our great country, We hold ourselves to a higher standard than to support, or worse yet, rejoice in violence. Someone who advocated for an arrested murderer and assassinator of one of the greatest debaters and free speakers of our time should have no place in the classroom, more so around young children.
As a student of Barrington High, I did not feel comfortable or safe with one of our teachers supporting violence. We believe this world needs God because something as cruel as this should never be celebrated. God bless Charlie Kirk and rest in peace, Mr. Kirk.
Okay, I think that was it. And that was very well spoken by those children. So good on them. And it was good to see a diverse group of kids kind of come forward and put this forth. If I don't know where they were actually presenting that or to what school board, but in certain states like California, that is really crazy on the DEI, having really kids of all races kind of come up there. I think implements the message in certain liberal states as well better than just one demographic stepping up there. So I'm really glad to see that. Also, I think this is where the new battleground is going to be, because you have so many teachers that have been indoctrinated themselves and now are taking their position of power and authority into the classroom and trying to indoctrinate the next generation of kids. A lot of these kids are waking up, and they're not only in the classroom going to stand up against this indoctrination to their teachers, but they are now going to school boards and social media. So as kids in classrooms start exposing this more and more, I think we really do have a fighting chance to make America great again and really hopefully wake up the wider world. We currently live in Mexico, but we used to live in Canada, and Canada is so far gone. I don't know how they're ever going to change. Donald Trump might have to break that country in order to wake it up.
And I mean, it does suck in a way, sorry for my language, but it does suck that we do have to do that whole, oh, it's a diverse group of kids, etc. Like, that's what America is supposed to be about, and you're not supposed to kind of notice and just consider them all Americans. And that was what Charlie was fighting for. And the fact that these three came together, and doesn't matter what the color is, but the fact that that caveat has to be made because of these people that have made it so important when it was being kind of dismantled, and the whole facade was being dismantled of, it doesn't matter really, it's just be the best person you can be. In some people's cases, follow God and be a good man, be a good woman, and do the best for your country.
Well, and this is a point in American history that people, I think, are going to look back at as a real turning point. And it's kind of ironic that it's the turning point because that was Charlie's organization. But I think globally, people are kind of waking up to the authoritarian nature of these liberal governments trying to impose on speech through hate speech and indoctrination of the younger generation. Okay, let's go into the next article we got here. And I believe it was an update that you brought to my attention.
Yeah, so this is kind of breaking news. There was just a press conference done, I believe, an hour ago or an hour and a half ago, where they have given charges to the suspect, we have to say, but to the suspected assassin of Charlie Kirk. Suspecting Charlie Kirk's killing is charged with murder, as prosecutor says DNA found on rifle trigger. If you haven't watched that whole press conference, I would say go watch it, because there is some new key details that came up, especially regarding the ideology, the messages that him and his lover were giving each other.
And you did watch the whole press conference, so I'm going to kind of let you go into it more than I am, because I was kind of busy gathering a ton of stories. We have a ton of stories. It's going to be a bit of a longer episode today, especially because I wanted to lead off with AB-495. Okay, let's go back into this Charlie Kirk stuff that's coming out.
So prosecutors brought a murder charge on Tuesday against the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk, and outlined evidence including a text message confession to his partner and a note left beforehand that said he had the opportunity to end one of the nation's leading conservative voices and saying, "I'm going to take it." And here he is. The aggravated murder charge means 22-year-old Tyler Robinson could face the death penalty if convicted of ending Kirk last week at Utah Valley University in Orem, about 40 miles south of Salt Lake City. The ending of Charlie Kirk is an American tragedy. The Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray said in announcing the charges. Kirk was gunned down on September 10th as he spoke to students and passed away soon after. Prosecutors allege Robinson shot Kirk in the neck with a bolt-action rifle from a roof of a nearby campus building. A Utah University official.
And I will say this, the left is really trying to pin this on the right. They had had to say so many lies over the last few days and have so many doctored photos of this kid coming out with a Trump shirt, which was a completely falsified photo. Now that this narrative's falling apart, they're trying to pin this on another group that they know the right doesn't like either, and that are the groypers. So they're really trying really hard to say this is the fringe radical right groyper part of the Conservative Party, which it completely isn't. It's obvious who this is and was now, and the evidence is just going to continue to pile up. This was the left. We see a lot of leftist commentators like Destiny, like Vosh, like Hassan Piker, all coming out and justifying this and trying to silence speech because they're losing the war of ideas.
Gray, who is the county attorney, I believe, Gray said Robinson discarded the rifle and clothing and asked his roommate to conceal the evidence, his boyfriend. Robinson left a note under a keyboard, so the person that did this left a note under a keyboard saying he planned to kill Kirk and confessed after the shooting documents show. Robinson also was charged with a felony discharge of a firearm, punishable by up to life in prison, and obstructing justice, punishable by up to 15 years in prison. He was scheduled to appear on camera for a virtual court hearing Tuesday afternoon, 3 p.m. Utah time, so I'm not sure what time that is. There was no attorney listed in the Utah online court docket for Robinson even after charges were filed, and his family has declined to comment to the AP. Robinson appears to have stayed in the area after shooting Kirk and ditching his rifle, authorities said. And there were a lot of text messages that were shared with the roommate that were read out loud. In a text exchange with his roommate released by authorities, Robinson wrote, "I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." Then he wrote, "Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it." After that, he sent, "I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they're already swept the spot, and I don't want to chance it." The text shared in court documents do not have timestamps, and it's unclear how long after the shooting Robinson was texting. He was arrested on late Thursday. And the text messages, I think, also point to, and they're not going to put it on the article, but a lot of the text messages and a lot of the things said by the mother when asked why she did it and why they decided to turn in their son was very explicitly said that he had turned more politically to the left in recent years, more pro-gay and pro-trans.
Since he left home.
Yeah. And that was like text from the mother saying. And then also within the text messages, the killer said that he was afraid of his father because he was a super MAGA. So the lines have been clearly drawn within the political sphere as well about this crime.
Well, and
motivated.
You also got to figure this kid was probably feeling a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, and was very confused because after he left home and he was raised in it looks like it was most likely a Christian conservative household, but when he left, he ended up exploring other options. He ended up being gay. He's probably having a lot of guilt and shame on those, plus whatever was being fed on these online forums and from his boyfriend. I mean, this was really a recipe for disaster.
Mm-hmm. And it is not the only thing or only person we've seen turn this way, and there are many more out there that have, if not the same, similar intents that are being known now because of the things they're posting online willingly, all by themselves. Nobody's prompting them to post those things. And it says, while authorities say Robinson hasn't been cooperating with investigators, they say his family and friends have been talking. Utah Governor Spencer Cox said over the weekend that those who know Robinson say his politics shifted left in recent years, and he spent a lot of time in the dark corners of the internet.
And I will say this, it seems like he sent a message to his boyfriend that said, check for the letter under the keyboard, and there was reports coming out that he had destroyed that letter. That would be destruction of evidence, but everything else indicates that that person is now cooperating with authorities, and I'm willing to bet that they may not press charges on that individual because they're going to need somebody to testify against Robinson himself so they can really make these charges stick.
And I mean
that's kind of a shame because I would like to see both of them go to jail, but I do understand you are going to need somebody to testify against him.
But it might not just be both of them, because FBI Director Kash Patel said agents were looking at anyone and everyone who was involved in the gaming chat room on the social media platform Discord with Robinson. The chat room involved a lot more than 20 people, Patel said Tuesday during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing in Washington. If you haven't seen that one and you haven't seen him destroy Schiff, then go watch Patel run over.
And there's also been mounting evidence over the past few years, especially with Gretchen Whitmore, but that is not the only case where there were FBI agents kind of pushing somebody into doing horrible acts and then busting them at the last minute. It looks like in these three-letter agencies, there are a lot of rogue agents that are potentially having the same idea of pushing somebody forward to do something heinous, only at the end, instead of stopping them, they let them go through with it, potentially. I'm not saying that there's a ton of evidence of this, but there are whisperings coming out of the FBI now that this may be the case. And this may be an opportunity for the FBI to really clear out the ranks of radicals within the FBI and other three-letter agencies.
And it continues, we're investigating Charlie's assassination fully and completely and running out every lead related to any allegation of broader violence, Patel said in response to a question about whether the Kirk shooting was being treated as part of a broader trend of violence against religious groups. And it is something we have seen over and over again, the usual suspects kind of thing. In Canada, they burned down too many churches.
Over 200 churches were burnt down in Canada. So this is a real opportunity for there to be a shift in America and hopefully for people to kind of meet in the middle and stop this insanity and violence. Okay, let's continue to go. This was the cover story I originally had before a lot of the other stories kind of popped up. That's why Chris Pratt was on the cover. And I don't know what the left-wing media is thinking of at this point, but this is absolutely lunacy. People are flocking to not only Christianity, but the moderate center now. And for them trying to pigeonhole Chris Pratt as somebody they want to cancel because he's doing a public prayer in a time where the nation needs public prayer. Let's read into the article and let's just realize this is a propaganda article. I kind of brought it up to show just where the media is at. They need to make a shift.
And this is from BuzzFeed, which, it was one of the things that started a lot of the things and shifts we've seen culturally in the past 10 years, even more, 15 years. And they were a big agent in that whole millennial-ish, activist-y, lefty style propaganda.
Okay.
It says Chris Pratt is being mercilessly roasted for seemingly pretending to close his eyes in a bizarre prayer video. I think most of these people have not seen prayer or don't know what prayer means.
Yeah, and this was not a bizarre prayer video in any way, shape, or form. He simply wrote down his words because he was actually wanting to put biblical quotes and he doesn't want to misquote those biblical quotes. So to give him any flack for this, there were a lot of other outlets that actually praised him for this. The left-wing media is just trying to look for anything right now. They can not only see the rise of the left coming back to the center, rejecting the far left right now, but they can also see people starting to embrace Christianity, and I think they're freaking out about it.
Mm-hmm. It says, quote, I'm crying so bad I thought he was having an allergic reaction at first. Chris Pratt is being roasted after he posted a video of himself praying to his social media accounts on Sunday, but seemingly only pretending to close his eyes. How do I get rid of this?
That's okay.
The 46-year-old star encouraged his fans to join him for the prayer in the footage he shared alongside the caption, "Be still. Hey guys, just stop real quick and pray with me," Chris began before quoting Psalm 46:10, "Be still and know that I am God." He then said a prayer to camera with his eyes closed, and when he finished the prayer, he told fans, okay, now you can continue scrolling or you can turn your phone off and go outside.
Yeah, and the media are the media here can see the cultural shift that's happening, and the actors that are most well positioned are going to be Henry Cavill, Chris Pratt, Gina Carano, a lot of these more publicly conservative figures that somehow managed to stick around Hollywood are going to become superstars. And we haven't had any real superstars in a long time. A lot of the names I just named are already kind of superstars, but I think you're going to see a re-emergence of these people. And I think they are hot ticket items right now.
He continued, might I suggest the latter? He said, go get some sunshine, go out, look at a tree, touch some grass, call a friend. If you've got time to be on your phone right now, you've got time to do your to-do list and you've got time to reach out to somebody in need, share this prayer with them.
Yeah, and I think Jurassic Park, the most recent one, or Jurassic World, the most recent one that came out, would have been a lot better if they would have not taken Chris Pratt out of it. So we can continue to go on, but good on Chris Pratt for giving these public prayers out, and I do hope to see more celebrities do it, especially when it's genuine and from the heart.
Yes, and continuing on.
Oh, and I have a few stories about this next one. This article right here is actually to set up the next two articles, I believe.
From AP News, Musk loses crown as the world's richest person to Larry Ellison and then snatches it back.
Yeah, and we don't have to read this article. I just want the headline. And this is not to kind of highlight that Musk is the richest man, but Larry Ellison is the second richest man, and he was the richest man in the world for a long time. And that's what's going to kind of go into these next few articles. So if you're not aware of who Larry Ellison is, he's the owner of Oracle. He also owns Paramount Plus, but he has a ton of money coming in from Oracle. That's why he's going to be able to really build a media empire like I don't think we've ever seen before. Okay, let's go into the next article. And Larry Ellison's son is very good at running Paramount Plus. So he knows how to play it down the middle. Although we do have one article coming out, which I'm like, what are they thinking? But other than that, Paramount recently signed the UFC. There is no more pay-per-views on the UFC starting next year. Everything's going to be absolutely free on Paramount Plus and CBS, which is a subsidiary of Paramount Plus. So they're making all kinds of good decisions lately. And I've been highlighting that week after week in recent months.
From Deadline, sizing up a possible Paramount WBD merger, Hollywood wonders if this episode is a repeat. News that Paramount is exploring a bid for all of Warner Brothers Discovery just weeks after closing its merger with Skydance has bent a few brains from Wall Street to Hollywood despite recent speculation that something was in motion. As the industry and investors take stock of the entertainment colossus that could be created, however, the nagging thought occurs. Have we seen this movie before? Disney's $71.3 billion acquisition of most of 21st Century Fox in 2019 bears a few striking similarities to the current maneuvers, but that deal is largely considered to be a misfire. Yet the new version features the vast wealth of the Ellison family and the tech chops of Oracle in the background, spawning hope of a brighter future for traditional media in a challenging environment.
Yeah, and it looks like what's happening, Warner Brothers wants to divide their company into multiple different platforms and kind of separate them. Paramount's going to put in a cash bid here before they do that separation in order to kind of get all of their content, which would be absolutely huge. Let's go into the next article, which is related to this as well.
From the deep dive, Paramount Skydance bid for Warner Brothers could spark a bidding war. Warner Brothers surged nearly 30% after reports that Paramount Skydance...
Let's go down to the timing aims.
The timing aims to preempt Warner's restructuring in two operating units, studios, streaming, and cable, a move disclosed earlier this year, which could otherwise invite competing brands from deep-pocketed tech firms such as Amazon, which owns Amazon Prime, or Apple, which owns Apple TV+. Regulators are expected to scrutinize the scales of the combination studio, streaming, and cable news overlap.
Yeah, and here I don't think you should be getting in a bidding war here. There are a lot of media companies collapsing right now or not doing good financially. Warner Brothers might not be collapsing, but they're not doing the best financially. Now is a very good time to pick them up, especially before they divide their content into multiple companies so they can grab it under a consolidation move. But if other companies want to kind of come in and bid, I don't know if that's going to be the case. Warner Brothers wants to make it look like that is a case so they can kind of drive up the price. Larry Ellison should counter that by putting multiple offers on multiple different studios to kind of put pressure on Warner Brothers to say, if you don't sell to us, somebody else will sell to us. Yeah, I really do think Warner Brothers is going to try to make believe that there are a lot of other bidders there to drive up the price. Okay, let's continue. Larry Ellison can afford the price even if it is driven up, though.
Mm-hmm. From The Hill, Trump's new Monroe Doctrine is driving China out of Latin America.
Yeah, and this story popped up a few months ago, but it's kind of reemerging now. And this is, I think, good news for Central, South, and the Americas in general. getting China out of South America, Central America. It looks like China's going to redouble their efforts in Africa. And why don't we go into what the Monroe Doctrine is a little bit?
Sure. Chinese President Xi Jinping was noticeably absent from the recent BRICS summit in Brazil. It was a sign of the times. China is losing ground in Latin America, and many of its companies are packing up for Africa.
One moment. Yeah, Xi Jinping wasn't at Brazil, but there is a ton of rumors currently swirling that there is a power play for his position. They don't necessarily want to take him out, but they want to undermine what powers the president has in China. They do want to keep him there, so it does keep some stability. It'll be interesting what does happen. Recently at the big Chinese parade where Indian and Russian leaders were there, Xi Jinping did look to reconsolidate power, in my opinion. But that being said, things were really up in the air during that BRICS summit. Xi Jinping, it didn't seem, was being allowed to leave the country at that time. Okay, let's continue here though.
These events could be the result of a change in the rules of the game, or perhaps just the leadership of President Trump and his new Monroe Doctrine. The Trump administration has renewed and reinforced the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine of 1823, establishing a zero-tolerance policy for interference from extracontinental powers in the Americas. These changes have forced China to reevaluate and redirect many of its multi-million-dollar projects in transportation, telecommunications, infrastructure, and strategic minerals. Political setbacks also include countries seeking closer ties and stronger alliances with Taiwan, a nation that China claims as its own territory.
Yeah, and we do kind of look to be moving into a multipolar world, and I think Trump realizes that, and he's trying to secure what the American pole is going to be, and that will probably be everything from South America all the way up to Canada and even Greenland. I think he's going to have to break some of these countries in order to remake them in the vision of the new protectionist pole. That being said, I also do think Trump is cooperating a lot with China, Russia in this ARC alliance. That would be America, Russia, and China. They're not doing it openly, but behind the scenes, a lot of their moves seem to be coordinated in order to break the UK and globalist banks in the EU. To avoid World War III.
And it continues, China is losing ground in Mexico. China's BYD, the world's largest electric car company and main competitor to Tesla, announced that it has canceled the construction of a huge electric vehicle plant in Mexico.
And one moment there, and they also put major tariffs on Chinese vehicles now. Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, is implementing an additional 50% tariffs on vehicles coming from China and tariffs on a lot of other products coming from China. She is doing a great job, it looks like, in these tariff negotiations, taking the opposite stance of what Canada is doing. So I would expect a good deal from her. And although I might not like her as a president, I will say she is doing a great job on these tariff negotiations so far.
And funnily enough, on this channel, I do have a video about BYD infecting Mexico.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
watch
that.
It. It's somewhere. It's one of the recent videos. Says the project would have had capacity to produce up to 150,000 cars per year, generating millions of dollars for China. Company seems to recognize the Trump effect. The new U.S. leadership has led them to rethink their expansion plans in Latin America. Geopolitical issues have a huge impact on the automotive industry, said Stella Lee, vice president of BYD.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. If they want to shut down their BYD plants, this is a great opportunity for American car manufacturers to kind of come in and buy up these plants that are completely equipped. So, and then that would be a good opportunity for Mexico and Canada to kind of cooperate on building American cars.
And it continues, Secretary of State Marco Rubio's first international trip was not to Europe or Asia, but to Central America. A categorical message was sent. Latin America, and especially Central America, are the priority for the U.S. Rubio's visit resulted in the end of the Belt and Road Initiative agreement signed between Panama and China, an unprecedented defeat for the communist geopolitical game in the so-called Global South.
Yeah, and Rubio is putting a ton of pressure on Venezuela right now. In the previous Trump administration, right near the end, they had secret negotiations going on in Mexico City for Maduro, his family, and his generals to have complete immunity if they would just step down. I think Trump is once again applying that pressure, and they will probably go into secret negotiations. And I wouldn't be surprised if Maduro does eventually step down. He does not want a war, especially if China is pulling out of the region. Brazil and Venezuela are going to be left high and dry if that's the case. Okay, we're going into this next story. This next story is absolutely ridiculous, and I don't think whoever's putting this on this photo of Epstein and Trump on this lawn are going to be doing the UK any favors when it comes to these tariff negotiations and other things. Trump is scheduled to go there in the next few days.
So from CTV News, which is state propaganda for Canada.
Oh, and yeah, CTV News loves to publish articles like this, and this is just another indication of why Trump needs to not only get the American media back in line, but international media.
Huge photo of Trump and Epstein unveiled at Windsor Castle ahead of state visit, which is a bad idea. A massive photo of U.S. President Donald Trump and convicted, disgusting offender Jeffrey Epstein was placed on the lawn outside Windsor Castle, where Trump is scheduled to stay Tuesday night as part of a state visit to the UK. The British activist group Everyone Hates Elon claimed responsibility for the stunt in a post on Instagram. Trump is coming to the UK to avoid the Epstein story, the group posted alongside.
1 second. And this is the issue why I could see the UK government being involved with this activist group putting this photo on the lawn. Why? Because one of the top ministers in the UK recently stepped down because of his connections with Epstein right before Trump goes over there. I don't think they wanted Trump to mention that because it's not a good look for the UK administration, especially when the people are uprising with the way they did over the weekend. They want to put the pressure on Trump not to talk about this issue.
Unfortunately, the British public just crowdfunded the world's biggest photo of Donald with the convicted, disgusting person, Jeffrey Epstein. The photo shows the two together at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in 1997.
Yeah, and although Trump may have connections with Epstein, if there were any really serious connections before the election happened or during the election when Biden was in office, they had access to all those files, and you better believe they would have used them.
Yes, for anybody that thinks that they wouldn't have used that as political fodder, I mean, that just goes, in my opinion, to prove that there was no more connection there because it would have come out.
Well, I'm not going to say there wasn't a connection. There definitely
I said no more connection.
Yeah, there definitely could have been a connection, but I don't think it's to the extent where it would have really mattered, because if it did, the files would have been released. Mm-hmm. Okay, we can hop over to the next story. I will say this. Trump does have a meeting over in the UK. That meeting is going to be extremely interesting. He understands the banking system and the intelligence services over in the UK are highly connected to the EU, and he has been putting them on notice for the last few months.
This is sad, and I didn't know. From The Hollywood Reporter, Robert Redford, golden boy of Hollywood, dies at 89. The Butch Cassidy and All the President's Men actor, Oscar-winning director, and Sundance founder was always about breaking the rules, he said.
Yeah, and I really did like Robert Redford, and I did like Paul Newman as well. So this is sad to see. I don't like a lot of these content creators that are kind of disrespecting and disparaging his memory. I'm not going to go into why they're doing that, but I really did like Robert Redford, and I am sorry to see him go. As far as I know, he was a class act, and we can read a little bit about it. He did found Sundance.
Robert Redford, the Hollywood Golden Boy and Sundance Film Festival founder, who starred in such movies as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Way We Were, and All the President's Men, who won an Academy Award for directing Ordinary People, died Tuesday. He was 89. Robert Redford passed away in his sleep in his home outside Provo, Utah. His longtime publicist, Cindy Berger, confirmed to The Hollywood Reporter. Oh, Utah as well.
Yeah, a lot of people might not know who Robert Redford is. He was even before my time, but he did make a big impact on my generation. He was a different kind of star, and I didn't agree with his politics whatsoever, but man, he did make good movies. I will say that. Okay, we can go forward. And he was 89,
yeah.
So.
But it is interesting it happened in Utah.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to even say it.
Okay, going on to Kamala Harris here, though, man, she hasn't given an interview since her recent loss leading up to the election. So this could be very interesting, especially the fact that she's going on the Rachel Maddow show, which Rachel Maddow is extreme left. And I hope on that day, Rachel Maddow exposes herself to be the extreme left by asking certain kinds of questions. I think Kamala Harris wants to move back to the middle. Even right now, as bad as she did in the last election, it's her and Gavin Newsom that are in the front runners for 2028. And I think she's going to have to move back to the middle if she wants to have any kind of chance.
And I did notice she was one of the first politicians to acknowledge and talk about Charlie Kirk passing away, so that was also interesting. Kamala Harris to appear on the Rachel Maddow show in first major news interview. Harris will appear live on set with Maddow September 22nd. The conversation will be interesting. Kamala Harris will sit down with MSNBC's Rachel Maddow next week with one of her major interviews since the 2024 election. The interview will take place September 22nd with Harris live on set for the Maddow's 9 p.m. Eastern.
Wow, and it's going to be live. We know leading up to that last election, it took a lot of editing for all those interviews for it to even look halfway presentable. This is a huge risk for her to go live. She does need to start doing things like this. She needs to get much more comfortable in front of the camera, much more comfortable with what her political views are. And yeah, I don't think she's going to do well at this at all. I think she exposed herself in the last election. I did write down some names here, but we have Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Stephen A. Smith, Michelle Obama, and AOC. Those are the five top candidates for the presidency in 2028 coming from the Democratic side. Gavin Newsom is running back towards the middle as fast as he can with this AB Bill 495. If he signs that into action, I hope that makes headlines because that is putting everybody's child in danger in the state of California and setting a precedence for other states to kind of follow. Gavin Newsom has a bad track record, although he is good on camera and he does know politics fairly well. The problem with him is his previous track record at destroying California. Kamala Harris is not good on camera, and if they put her up, it's a guaranteed loss, especially when you're going up against somebody like J.D. Vance. Who else did I have here? Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith may be actually the best possible candidate. He is good at debate. He is good being live on camera, although he has a very shallow sense of what politics is. So when he's hit with certain talking points from a heavy hitter like J.D. Vance, it will be interesting to see how he responds. Also, Michelle Obama, I don't think her heart's really into it. Everybody knows she didn't like politics when her husband was into it, and I just don't see her being able to take the spotlight. And as far as AOC goes, AOC is so far left, especially what happened after Charlie Kirk. She's almost disqualified if she doesn't somehow rebrand herself as a moderate. Of those names, I think Stephen A. Smith has the best chance. I don't think Kamala Harris is even cut out to be vice president at this point.
So this comes as the former vice president is launching a tour for her new book, 107 Days, which details what happened behind the scenes of her presidential election campaign last year. The following day, on September 23rd, Harris will appear on The View for her first return to the ABC talk show since the election. And I think The View just got roasted, but I gotta verify that clip is real. But The View got roasted by someone that was on there for talking about Charlie Kirk, but I have to verify that before we...
Yeah, I had seen something about that as well.
Make sure it's real.
I'm surprised that she's going on Rachel Maddow, and there's probably going to be a talk with Rachel Maddow before Kamala Harris goes on there to stay away from any extreme left talk or to stay away from certain sensitive subject matter. The View is much more what Kamala Harris wants, just a bunch of cackling hags that are going to try to lift her up, when I don't even think Kamala Harris can support her own political weight. Okay, let's kind of go into this. And this was from That Park Place, which is an absolute phenomenal source.
Yes, go follow WDW Pro, That Park Place. And
I think you're on there next week.
Yeah, we're on there every 2 weeks. So thank you to them as well. But Elizabeth Banks brags that 5 women, 1 man nominated for Best Director at the Emmys, and the man immediately wins.
Yeah, rightfully so. I mean, I'm surprised that they even put a man up. But when they do put a man up, he just won. Let's read a little bit about this article. I just thought this was a funny situation, and it made a good subject matter for our article.
Yeah. Oh, the merit. Elizabeth Banks just had her second major awards show faceplant at the Emmys. This one might have been funnier than the last. At the 2025 Emmy Awards, Banks was tapped to present Outstanding Directing for a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie. Rather than simply introduce the nominees and let the moment speak for itself, she tried to make it into a feminist statement. Banks proudly pointed out that 5 of the 6 nominees were women, touting it as a big cultural milestone.
Yeah, it might have been a milestone, but none of them won. So, okay, we can kind of move on. I just wanted to read that headline and show
because Marvin finds it really funny. This is from Marvin Montanaro, and he says, cue the punchline. The one man nominated, Philip Baratani, for Adolescence immediately won. So Banks set the stage for a triumph of female representation, only to have reality instantly deliver the opposite outcome.
Yeah, and that's great when that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Adolescence was a really well-produced show. We have talked about it in this and our other channel, but I don't love the message behind it.
It was too politically charged, and it was too politically charged one way and the wrong way.
And we're seeing now the effects of that kind of media being shown to children.
Yeah, but I will say Adolescence, the way it was filmed, if you haven't watched behind the scenes, it was all filmed with one take. It went from handheld to drones seamlessly. I do like to watch filmmaking a lot, and it did break in a lot of new boundaries. It's just a shame that it was so politically charged and it was weaponized by the UK government.
Against the right.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Sydney Sweeney, a more lighthearted topic here.
From Deadline, Sydney Sweeney's Americana wasn't a bomb, rather a niche play, understanding indie box office economics.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard of this movie. I did watch the trailer, and it did look like a fairly shitty movie. That being said, she is a big enough star because she has been making a lot of headlines, and she has made the cultural shift the correct way. So you're seeing a lot of people go out to the box office and actually support her, even though she's in what looks like to be not that good of a movie. She's becoming such a superstar. I expect her to only do high budget movies after this. A lot of the rumors she's a lot of the films she's rumored to be in coming years are guaranteed to be mega hits. I think she's going to be one of the big stars of this generation.
Whether a movie with a notable star gets a lower-end wide release in just over 1,000 theaters and said title doesn't post a big result, it's easy to write that as it's a bomb.
And it looked like a shitty trailer to me in the sense of I wouldn't go to the movie theater to watch it, but it did look like an okay trailer if I was going to watch it on streaming. So I actually do think this movie will do good on streaming. I'll probably check it out.
This brings us to Sydney Sweeney starring... Sydney Sweeney starring originally Braun financed Tony Tost, written, directed, who writes like this? Western Americana, which the media had condemned as a flat-out bomb in its 500,000 opening at 1,100 theaters.
Yeah, it only had 1,100 theaters. A typical mainstream opening will have nearly 4,000 theaters. So the fact that it was only in 1,100 theaters, it actually did fairly well for that.
And they're trying to once again do the cultural war battle thing here, because they go on to say, from Deadline, particularly in the wake of the Euphoria star's controversial American Eagle campaign.
That's the American Eagles campaign is why this movie was even moderately successful.
And it is funny they're trying to pinpoint it on that, because of course. However, calling Americana a bomb is a misnomer in indie film economics terms. At the end of the day, the movie is expected to be profitable for Lionsgate on a small level under the Lionsgate Premier Releasing label.
Yeah, and it did. She actually did nail the role. It was kind of a period piece from, I believe, the 80s, and she kind of hit that all-American girl there. And I think in the future, people are going to look at that kind of independent movie if there's a future role in a more high budget kind of film that needs the same kind of character. Okay, let's go into Bill Maher here. And although I don't agree with Bill Maher and everything, he usually does have good takes. And on this Charlie Kirk thing, it seems like he did have a pretty good take.
Not initially. If you've seen the Ben Shapiro, when Ben Shapiro went on Bill Maher, initially it was like a day or two after Charlie Kirk's assassination. He was very trying to do the both sides of it. And Ben Shapiro cut it off right away. If you haven't seen that, it's on X all over the place. We would play here, but I don't have time to look for it. But yes. But now Bill Maher condemns, from the Hollywood Reporter, now Bill Maher condemns people who mocked Charlie Kirk's death. I think you're gross. The Real-Time host further addressed the widespread reaction to Kirk's assassination sparked on social media.
Yeah, and maybe he's trying to come back to the center. You gave me some new information I didn't know. So he's reading the room at this point. Then that would be
I think Ben Shapiro made him read the room. And his audience, because his audience was all clapping for Ben's points. Bill Maher addressed Charlie Kirk's assassination during Friday night's episode of Real Time, where he started the episode off by noting that it had been a very ugly week in America.
One other thing, he does have a very diverse audience. He has a lot of people from the left and the right. So if he is reading the comments on his podcast, yeah, he's going to have a chance to read the room like a lot of other liberals that are in these bubbles and don't get any input from the other side. He has, and he's reevaluated the situation, I think.
During his opening monologue, Maher touched on the current state of politics in the United States in the wake of the shooting. He began, "It's a very ugly week in America with violence of all kinds, political violence, regular violence, a lot of people talking about a civil war."
Okay, we can kind of stop it there. I will say this, Destiny and a lot of other radical leftist content creators are talking for the survival of the Democratic Party, they need a civil war. They are trying to push this. It's good to see the right isn't really pushing back. We're pushing back in a controlled way where we're having prayer vigils, not riots. We're coming together wanting more speech rather than less speech, and really focusing on how to make a change in a positive way. So, okay, let's move on to CNN.
Do you want me to read the rest of the things he said?
That's pretty good.
From CNN, Trump files $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York Times.
Yeah, and this is a big lawsuit. I didn't have a chance to read it, but it was in every major publication. So I said this story must be important. I have so many stories today. I think we're 3/4 of the way through right now, but let's read this one together.
President Donald Trump says he is filing an audacious lawsuit against the New York Times, alleging defamation and accusing the outlet of being a virtual mouthpiece for the Democratic Party.
And I agree with that completely.
The lawsuit demands $15 billion in damages, which exceeds the entire market cap of the New York Times company, and claims Trump is leading an effort to restore integrity to journalism.
Yeah, he needs to send a message to all these mainstream outlets. You need to get your people back in line and come back to the center and start having stories based upon facts and truth, and not having this heavy liberal slant like we've seen in a lot of stories I kind of put out there today. I do grab a lot of these stories from liberal sources just so we can see what they're saying. And just like that Chris Pratt article was really extremely biased and trying to get Chris Pratt canceled for having a public prayer. I mean, some of these outlets are just it's just unacceptable. A lot of the slant they do have.
The suit is the latest example of what First Amendment experts have described as a presidential strategy to silence critical news coverage and curb free speech by filing nuisance lawsuits.
No, I think they need to bring in more conservative writers, content creators, and things like this with these organizations, so they aren't really in this bubble. And I think that's the problem that a lot of these organizations are in right now.
Well, the Times, and it's especially funny because silence critical news coverage and curb free speech. Who has been doing that for the past 15 years?
Yeah. And wait, and is. And this is what I keep telling you, because you say the left was doing this. The left was, no, has been, but they haven't has been. They are, and they're doing it in every Western country around the world. We came from Canada. I constantly show Canadian articles so people realize that this stuff is going on a global basis. The Canadian news outlets are funded by the Canadian government, and they are just propaganda rags for the left. The EU, the UK, in Ireland, in Australia, and almost every Western country except the United States is finally pushing back. And what you're seeing is a lot of resentment internationally to how the United States is finally standing up for the other side.
And even here in Mexico, they do that all the time. They censor people. They make you apologize on X for giving an opinion as a citizen against someone that's in politics for 30 days, which is insane. While the Times immediately signaled that it would fight the suit, the Committee to Protect Journalists observed that these types of defamation suits send a chilling message and can entangle news media in time-consuming and costly legal processes, maybe that they have to go through to change. Defamation suit against the Times also names book publisher Penguin Random House and 4 Times reporters, 2 of whom wrote a book for Penguin titled Lucky Loser: How Donald Trump Squandered His Father's Fortune and Created the Illusion of Success. The 85-page suit reads at times like a pro-Trump op-ed with
Well,
page after page.
and I think it was the New York Times, if I'm not mistaken. If it wasn't the New York Times, it was one of those 8 other major rags, which was winning multiple Pulitzer prizes off of articles that were just plain out wrong. And it came out after the election that those articles were wrong, and they never took back the Pulitzer prizes.
And
Surprises? Pulitzer prizes, yeah.
And it continues. Media lawyers immediately expressed skepticism about Trump's chances of prevailing. The suit has no merit, the Times said in a statement. It lacks any legitimate legal claims and instead is an attempt to stifle and discourage independent reporting.
Yeah, that's what all these mainstream articles are going to say, and there are a ton of them, but we've seen what happened with the last lawsuit. They ended up settling, and it sent a message to the rest of them. This time, this is a much bigger lawsuit, and it has a much better foundation. I would either expect this thing to be settled for a lot of money, or it's going to go to court and they're going to lose. Okay, we can kind of jump ahead. I had a ton of articles today. I'm sorry about this, but I thought you would like this one.
From Variety. I did so many pieces about this person. Carla Sofia Gascon to star in Paramount Plus comedy School of Seduction from Italian hitmaker Carlo Verdone.
Okay, and this is what I was saying about Paramount Plus. They have made stay on the headline, please. They made so many good decisions late, from buying the UFC, making it free so there's no more pay-per-views, to the kind of content they're producing. This could be a misstep. I don't know if they're going to get canceled from it, but I think if she wants to save her career, she needs to come out, or he needs to come out as a conservative. He already has conservative beliefs. The conservative would love to have a transgender on their side at this point in order to use that as a transgendered shield. So the thing is, I don't think Paramount Plus maybe necessarily knows that he is in this. The person that is making this, Carlos, how do I say, Verdone?
Carlo Verdone.
It was probably his decision. He's the one that signed the contract with him. So I think that's how this is happening. As Paramount Plus gets wind of this, we'll see if this actually gets made.
We don't know who Carla Sofia Gascon is. He is a transgender actor who starred in Emilia Perez, one of the greatest insults to Mexico and Mexican culture.
And Christianity.
And everything. That,
Catholicism.
Catholicism that the country has ever seen and the world all overreacted, Mexicans especially. And this person actually got into multiple fights with the makers of Emilia Perez and got ostracized from the Oscars, who he was supposed to win one for Best Actress. It's a whole insane story. And then went into hiding, and now I think is thinking he can come back.
But there was a lot of comments that came out that he was was very conservative by nature, but the liberal
Spain.
Yeah, a lot of the his liberal connections within Hollywood put so much hate on him that he apologized for it and kind of went back. I think coming forward, if he wants to save his career, come out as a conservative and just restate what you had already stated before. It's the only way this person is going to survive in Hollywood at this point.
And the problem with this person is that he does have a lot of controversial opinions on both ends. So he says crazy things about left and right and all over the place. In Mexico, he tried to build a career. He was in MasterChef Mexico for a while, Celebrity MasterChef, and did numbers there. And that's how most people knew him until Emilia Perez, and it became kind of a global thing. But then his tweets came out or his exes came out, what he had said about immigration and what was happening in Spain. And that pointed towards a more right-leaning vision of the world. So who knows what this person thinks. But I don't know if he'll be able to.
Yeah, and Paramount Plus has been making so many good decisions and moving in the right direction. This is one misstep, but I don't even know if it's in production yet or when it is ready for a release. Maybe they just won't release it to an American audience because they would want to avoid cancellation. And I think Paramount Plus is smart enough to realize this. This could spark a lot of controversy in the wrong way for Paramount Plus.
So Carla Sofia Gascon, the Oscar-nominated Emilia Perez star who sparked controversy earlier this year over his past offensive tweets, is in Rome shooting Italian comedy School of Seduction. The high-profile film, helmed by Italian comic actor and director Carlo Verdone, will drop exclusively on Paramount Plus next year.
So it must be in production already. So
yeah, they're filming. They're shooting.
And it's definitely the director that and the producer that is the one that signed this individual. We'll see what happens and how Paramount Plus actually plays this and how the actor himself actually plays this, because of his conservative nature, he may be able to revitalize his career. We'll see what kind of happens here.
Well, we've seen Caitlyn Jenner try to do something like that, but because of the tiptoeing and the going back and forth with different messaging, similar to Carla Sofia, we'll see also.
Well, and also there's oh God, what's her name? The conservative transgender commentator.
Oh no, Blair White is completely
Yeah, no,
different.
but Blair White.
She does it right.
Yeah, but there are some transgendered people that are accepted by the right. And with the cultural shift, this could be one of those people if they can read the room properly. We'll see. Okay.
But Blair White is not only accepted, she is respected.
Well,
by
she's
most
put
of
forth
the
on,
right.
on a pedestal almost, yeah.
Yes.
Because she can say things other people can't, especially in a time of cancellation.
Mm-hmm. And she's been fighting against the trans insanity for who knows how long. And with her, I do use her pronouns because I do respect her as a person. From Deadline, Chris Martin encourages fans to send love to Charlie Kirk's family at Coldplay concert. This was very nice.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely fantastic that he did this. I was glad when I heard this. We do have another article later on about Jamie Lee Curtis and how she reacted. And she's, even though I disagree with her political opinions, she had a good reaction as well. Okay, let's go a little bit into this, but let's kind of hurry through these because I have a lot of articles there.
As the killing of Charlie Kirk sparks mass partisan fallout, it seems Chris Martin is trying to keep the peace with the message of love. During the band's final stop on their Music of the Spheres World Tour on Friday in London, which was also right before the protests, the massive protests we saw from Tommy Robinson.
Tommy
Sorry.
Robinson.
Too many names in my head. From Tommy Robinson, so we know a lot of people were probably also going to the Coldplay concert before the protest. The Coldplay frontman encouraged the audience to send love to Charlie Kirk's family following the conservative influencer's death this week.
And he's been making a lot of headlines with the Kiss Cam, now with this. Great on him. We didn't talk about that protest a lot, but it looks like there was almost 3 million people there. Mainstream media, again, is lying and saying there was 110,000. There was drones up in the air so everybody can see how many people were actually on the ground, and it looks like millions, not 100,000. So that concert had to be filled with Charlie Kirk fans and free speech activists for sure.
Chris Martin said, "Let's raise our hands like this and send love anywhere you want to send it in the world. And there are so many places that might need it today. So here it comes from London. You can send this to your brother or sister. You can send it to the families of people who have been through terrible stuff or the family of Charlie Kirk."
Okay, let's keep it rolling here.
From Deadline, The Witcher gets season 4 premiere. Date, first footage of Liam Hemsworth as Geralt.
Yeah, and I was disappointed to see this. They had a star, especially an emerging star with the cultural shift that is happening. Henry Cavill was The Witcher. This is not a good move for Liam Hemsworth. He's not going to be able to fill those boots. I don't know why they made a change. I would have paid Henry whatever he wanted to continue in this series. This series does not look good. I watched the trailer of season 4. I did watch the entire season 1 of this, and I did like season 1. It's just not what it used to be. So if you want to watch somebody that's not Henry Cavill, well, go ahead and watch this, but I wouldn't expect too much from it.
Do you want me to
Okay,
read
let's
it, or
continue on.
just move on?
Yeah, I just wanted to show that Henry Cavill was not in the new season of The Witcher there.
Cavill.
Whatever.
From the AP, US and China reach a framework deal for the ownership of TikTok.
Yeah, and the deals are kind of, the details of this thing is a little bit elusive, but it looks like they finally struck a deal, and China's also moving out of South America, like we reported early in the article. So this is going to be huge.
Want me to read it?
Yeah, let's go down a little bit. Especially with the Charlie Kirk thing happening, this was the time for China to actually sell this. There's going to be so much pressure on them that at least they got something out of it.
A framework deal has been reached between China and the U.S. for the ownership of popular social video platform TikTok, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said after weekend trade talks in Spain. Bessent said in a press conference after the latest round of trade talks between the world's two largest economies concluded in Madrid that U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping would speak Friday to possibly finalize the deal. He said the objective was to switch U.S. ownership from China's ByteDance. "We are not going to talk about the commercial terms of the deal," Bessent said. "It's between two private parties, but the commercial terms have been agreed upon."
Yeah, and I will say this about TikTok: as much as you don't like it, Charlie Kirk absolutely loved TikTok, and that's how he was able to reach a lot of the youth. Maybe once it does come to America, I know you've had an outright ban on us using TikTok. I'm more inclined to use it now that it is an American company.
You can do your little short videos there. I still refuse to use it. I think it is a cesspool of and part of the death culture that.
Well, I think things are going to dramatically change on what's acceptable and not acceptable online, and I think the culture is going to change, and it's an American company that's going to own that. So, and I think free speech is going to be paramount on that platform going forward.
Speaking about an American company that might own it, from the AP, Tesla's stock is rising as Elon Musk buys more than 2.5 million shares worth about $1 billion.
Yeah, and I've talked about this the last few days, but I just want to put this in simple terms. Tesla, the car company, is not doing very well. The Cybertruck absolutely bombed. The robotics department of these Tesla bots is also not doing very well. They've downsized on the manufacturing and their timeline. So why is he buying 2.5 million stocks at a cost of $1 billion? Something big is going to happen in Tesla. And I do cover a lot of stories that are on Elon Musk, and I'm going to assume this is going to be a phone coming out. There has not been a lot of talk about this, but this is what I think. He has been acquiring different satellite companies, and he has also been acquiring a lot of other companies that could potentially distribute a direct to satellite phone, which would make it impossible to censor these phones. Also, the Everything app on these phones would include a banking system kind of interlinked. So a phone with an Everything app that is direct from satellite would be a massive thing, would absolutely skyrocket the Tesla stock. I think they will brand it as the Tesla phone, not as the SpaceX phone, especially if he's buying $1 billion worth of stock. He knows something's coming. Every indication is Tesla's kind of failing on every level, except rumors of this potential phone, especially with free speech.
What about the Starlink phone? Wouldn't that make more sense?
No, he would be buying Starlink stocks rather than Tesla stocks. Because every other sector within Tesla is kind of failing right now, there must be an ace up his sleeve, and I believe that is the phone. You're not buying $1 billion worth of stock if you're going to continue to fail.
Do you want me to read into it, or?
No, we can just continue to go. I just wanted to kind of put that out there, and my take on it is a Tesla phone is most likely coming. Okay, let's keep going.
From the AP again. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle opens to 70 million, biggest anime debut to claim top box office spot.
Not animated, anime.
I said anime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, anime is getting big. We just recently had, what was that, Demon Hunters?
K-pop Demon Hunters.
K-pop Demon Hunters, which was a spin on anime. Anime seems to be very big right now, especially in the American market. It is emerging. The couple little properties that came out, which was this and K-pop Demon Hunters, absolutely exploded. I'm going to expect a lot more anime, especially in the American market, or a hybrid of anime, traditional animation, or anime computer graphic animation in the future.
If I may bring in my personal opinion, a lot of the online fodder and trans activism does link to anime and to people pretending to be anime characters. We do see a lot of avatars from anime and a lot of that being pushed through anime, so I don't know how good of an idea this is.
They also said rock and roll was the devil's music back in the 60s.
But there is links done by like actual studies to, trans.
Yeah, but this was, I kind of brought this up. This is a huge opening, $70 million, and I'm sure it didn't have a widespread distribution either. So why don't you go down a little bit and see how many theaters it played it, if they do say?
It was online, I think. Yeah, it was online.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's continue to go to the next story. We got 3 stories left here, I believe. Maybe 4.
From the Toronto Star, many sports fans are unhappy with how much it costs to watch their games. An AP Norc poll finds.
Yeah, and this is, again, I'm going to point at Paramount Plus for taking the hit, paying $1.7 billion a year for the UFC, taking it off pay-per-view and letting people watch it absolutely for free. Rather than that sport costing a lot, it is now costing next to nothing for UFC fans to watch that, and they own the entire distribution of UFC. When you go to something like NFL, it's been divided up between so many networks. Fans are absolutely jaw-dropped at how much it's costing them to watch the NFL now. If they don't have a subscription here and a subscription there and a subscription there, they're going to miss certain games. So if media companies are going to step up and sign these sports properties, and sports properties typically cost the most to buy because of live advertisement. People want to watch sports live, so the advertisement actually costs double and triple what normal advertisement costs. So it's a huge property for any streaming service to have. You need to buy the rights to these leagues outright, much like Paramount Plus bought the UFC. The UFC has a ton of room to grow internationally. So that was a huge pickup from Paramount Plus. Going forward, whoever is the winner in these streaming wars is eventually going to consolidate these sports all on one platform.
Want me to read into it? Or?
No, I just kind of wanted to bring.
From Deadline, Hannibal creator wants to revive series with Zendaya as Clarice Starling.
Yeah, and a plank of wood is not going to have the depth of acting that you need for this role. This is a horrible decision. I think this decision was made before the cultural shift was starting to happen. If this happens, I don't expect good things from it.
And they keep trying to put Zendaya in everything.
In everything. Yeah.
I don't hate her as much as you do, I guess. I don't dislike her as much as you do, but...
She's just a it's from this era of manufactured superstars or stars, what they're trying to make superstars, and they're not even resonating with me in any way, shape, or form. And it's not just her. There's a ton of male actors they're doing the same thing to now. And her boyfriend, they're trying to do the same thing to. And it's crazy.
Beyonce. After 10 years, Hannibal creator Brian Fuller hopes to revive the series with an iconic leading lady taking on the portrayal of a major character.
And I will say, go back to the top, I do like the other actor. So if he could I would say if he was the main actor carrying the show, but it sounds like she's the one that they want to make carry the show. So
the two-time Emmy nominee recently shared his idea for a long overdue fourth season of NBC series, which ran from 2013 to 15, starring Mads Mikkelsen, who is the other guy, as a titular cannibalistic psychiatrist. My dream project is to do a limited series of Silence of the Lambs with Mads and Zendaya as Clarice Starling.
Oh, so they would bring him back, I think.
If I could put anything out into the universe, I would put that out into the universe.
Yeah, recast that. But she does have a lot of star power in the sense that if you attach her name to a property, you can get it made. So he may already have a commitment from her, knowing if he brings this to a studio, they'll probably sign off on it. Although I think it will be, if not a flop, I don't think it would do terrifically well. Yeah. Okay, let's go into the last two stories here.
From ABC News, graphic video of Kirk shooting was everywhere online, showing how media gatekeeper role has changed.
Yeah, and mainstream media is absolutely pissed that platforms like X are now the new place people go for information. And it's because X doesn't gatekeep the information. They put it out right away. Even though I didn't like the video of Charlie Kirk being ended, I think it is vitally important that we have those raw videos and raw takes from individuals so we know what's going on in the world rather than having things put through a funnel so they can put their spin on it, so they can indoctrinate an entire generation into their way of seeing things.
And I mean, it is, I think, part of the turning point and part of the conversation does go along the lines of we saw somebody politically assassinated from 4K live streamed at the time it happened. And I think that did change the discourse a lot and helped shape it in a way both positively and negatively.
Well, and a lot of these news organizations aren't going to put a video on their platform like that, and then they're just going to put their spin on it. And when you have their spin on it, they're just going to tell you how radical Charlie Kirk is, and they're just going to lie up and down about who the man was. And because they want to indoctrinate and they want to try to win a political battle off the death of somebody, which is absolutely ridiculous.
But I do think it I mean, it has seeped into my brain. I only had to watch it once, and it wasn't even because I wanted to. It just appeared. And I do think, in a way, seeing so many violent things all the time does desensitize us, and I'm sure it doesn't do anything good for the soul or for human beings in general. We're not supposed to operate.
Yeah,
this
but it's
way,
important
it
to
is
have the raw video, whether it's in a war zone, whether it is anywhere around the world, and that is the power of X. It comes out on X, and before the mainstream media can even report on it, independent media can put their take on it, and that really devalues what the mainstream is trying to put out there and their spin. So this is really the cultural shift you have seen. It has come through free speech and through X, and the ability for the independent media to be first to content.
But also we are also able to see the reaction from the deranged, insane lunatics, and that usually would have been covered behind also the kind of articles that could be spun by mainstream media by not seeing those reactions firsthand and then doing the reaction to those reactions. But traditional news outlets were careful in their coverage of conservative activist Charlie Kirk's assassination to not show graphic images of the event. And I do think it is disrespectful that we had to witness it for his life and for the man.
Yeah, but I think it
was the most important thing.
It made such an impact. People actually seeing the violent nature of these crazy left lunatics. And yeah, it was all over the place. And if that video wasn't shown, I don't think it would have nearly the cultural impact it is having right now. Okay, let's go into the last story of the day here, and that's Jamie Lee Curtis.
From The Hollywood Reporter, Jamie Lee Curtis gets emotional over Charlie Kirk killing. He is a father and a husband and a man of faith. The conservative activist was assassinated last week.
Yeah, and I do cover Jamie Lee Curtis on this channel quite a lot because she has crazy lunatic political takes. That being said, I think a lot of more traditional liberals that aren't indoctrinated on the far, far, far left, this is the appropriate take to have. And that's the take that she had. So good on her for actually having a good, sincere take on this.
And I think it might be because she might be scared that the water is heating up around her side, because she has been very vocal, very open, very supportive of her child, who's a man who believes he's a woman, and has made most of her these last few years of her career about that, and about she having a trans daughter, quote unquote, or a man who believes he's a woman. So I think maybe she also did it preemptively to avoid any kind of other statements she could or her son could have made.
Yeah, but when she has made so many like political statements in the past, and she's obviously on the left, it's important for other people to see statements from people on the left like this that are much more moderate and appropriate takes. So good on her for actually making a take like this. And I wish Bill Maher's take, his initial take, was more like this. At least he was able to reassess the situation.
But again, I think she might be seeing the political reckoning coming on her side, and her being one of the first ones that's willing to go against it. But Jamie Lee Curtis broke down in tears while sharing her thoughts on the tragic assassination of MAGA political activist Charlie Kirk.
And she might be in tears because she really, like you said, she realizes it's heating up and there could be violence coming on the other side as well.
Let me just read what she said because I am curious. I'm going to bring something up with you just because it's front of mind. The Oscar winner said before mistakenly calling Kirk Charlie Christ, which she attributed to the error to Kirk's deep belief in his faith. Curtis continued through tears. I disagreed with him on almost every point I ever heard him say, but I believe he was a man of faith, and I hope that moment when he died that he felt connected with his faith. Even though his ideas were abhorrent to me, I still believe he's a father and a husband and a man of faith, and I hope whatever connection to God that means, he felt it. Yesterday was 9/11. I know there's a video of his assassination. I know people who've seen it. The Star said yesterday on 9/11, we watched again these images of those buildings coming down. Today as a society, we are bombarded with imagery, so we don't know what the longitudinal effects of seeing those towers come down over and over and over and over again, or watching his execution over and over and over again. I don't want to see this footage of this man being shot.
That was a good take. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And like she said about Charlie Kirk, she didn't agree with him, and I don't agree with her. But on this particular take, this was a very, very good take from her. So good on her for saying that. And she even went above and beyond, I think, by saying he was a man of God, which he was. And yeah, really good on her. So, okay. It shows not all leftists are necessarily lunatics, even if they have said some crazy things in the past. Okay, let's end it on that good note. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers, eventually 1,000 one day. Adios. We'll be back with our political show, Nat and the Guy,
Together
together
on camera.
on camera tomorrow night. Adios.